somebody's hand will get cut off. Oh well, whoop-de-doo. So if you've just noticed, oh my goodness, I think she's wearing a kimono, it is true, I am wearing a kimono. I felt like being comfortable today because I had a difficult last 24 hours. So I have gone for my favorite comfort kimono. So why was the last 24 hours difficult for me? Well, it's because I have a chronic illness, and that's what I'm talking about today, is how disabilities and people with chronic illnesses are represented in the science fiction and the fantasy that we read today. So little backstory about me. I have been sick since 2013, at least that's when I became aware of it and realized that I was not feeling things or behaving in the same way that a normal person my age would feel. After 3 years of looking for a diagnosis and going from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor and getting all the tests done and all the tests saying, you're normal, you're fine, everything's cool, finally I got a diagnosis of Lyme disease and Babesiosis, both of which are tick-borne illnesses. Now, Lyme disease you've probably heard something about. It's not fun. And if you catch it within the first couple weeks of getting it, then you have a really good chance of just nipping it in the bud, even though you're going to feel pretty sick. But if you catch it after it has already worked into your body for years and years and years, it is not easy to get rid of. You're talking just years of treatment. It's hard. So Lyme disease causes all kinds of different symptoms. It mimics a ton of other diseases, which is one of the reasons why it is so hard to catch. Babesiosis is malaria-like, so you get these weird fevers and chills and these muscle cramps and aches and stuff. And they kind of come and go, so then you think, I'm better, I'm not better, I'm better, I'm not better. And that's one of the reasons why it's also hard to get it diagnosed. Well then, because I'm special, I developed something new in 2017, which has now been identified as conversion disorder with a movement manifestation. And I know that sounds really fancy, and what it basically means is somewhere along the line, my body internalized stress somehow. For some people it's PTSD, for some other people they don't know what the cause is, but my body's reacting to something. So that is causing me to have non-epileptic seizures, periods of either partial or full paralysis, where either I can't maybe move anything from my waist down for a period of time. Occasionally I will have full paralysis where I can only communicate with my husband through blinking. That is really interesting the first time that happened. Fortunately, my husband has a very cool head and he's very quick to pick up on things, because obviously I couldn't tell him what was going on. And the other thing is sometimes I'll have mobility issues, so I will walk around with a cane or a walker in order to support myself, because my legs can give way at any time, or I have a really, really stiff gait, or my hands go into claws and I can't pick up anything and need help to eat or do whatever it was I was trying to do. And then there are other times where I'm totally normal, like right now. You would never know that I have any neurological disorder that makes daily living difficult, and that resulted in me not being able to be part of the workforce anymore because I'm unreliable. So this is the reality I'm living in. So when I read books in which disability is represented in some way, I'm very interested. So an author from one of the author groups that I am very active in, she wrote a blog post about how people with disabilities are represented in fiction, and also how they are misrepresented in fiction. And it was a great blog post. It really highlighted a lot of things that even I hadn't really quite thought through in seeing that representation. I'm like, oh yeah, actually that's a good point. So I've actually linked to it in the description below, and I really hope that you'll take the time to read it because it's just fascinating. But a couple of the things that I'd like to highlight. One is that sometimes, because disabilities are very physically limiting, and we usually want our hero to do something active because that's what looks successful and exciting, a lot of the time that means that we just kind of brush over the fact that there's a disability going on, right? So like you see a lot of popular sci-fi movies and shows and stuff, somebody's hand will get cut off. Oh well, whoop-de-doo, we have advanced technology and we can just cybernetically put the little hand on there and look, their new hand can shoot lasers. It's even better than the old hand. In reality, if you had lost a hand, there's a ton of physical realities that go with that, even if you get a really nice prosthetic. A good replacement hand, at least for functionality, it's not the same as a real hand. So that's just one of them. The other one is playing up a disability for just the pity factor. That is sad to me that people would represent disabilities that way, because yeah, there are moments where I feel pretty sorry for myself, don't get me wrong, but that's not the entirety of my life either. And just using a disability as kind of playing the pity cards, like, oh, feel bad for this main character or this side character who's just had such a hard life. That's not the reality. Like, it is a hard life, but it's also a good life. Life, for me, is the same as for anybody else. It's, you know, kind of what you make of it. You know, do you have a grateful heart? Do you continue to use your gifts as you can, as you have the opportunity to? Of course I'm physically limited, but I can still do stuff, and don't hamper me with your pity. Another thing is showing people being misunderstood all the time, and that also is not true. My disability is constantly misunderstood, don't get me wrong. People, you know, see me and they think, oh, healthy person, because she can move and she can do things. They will never, almost never see me when I am on the floor convulsing. They'll never see that because that's not something that I go out in public to show. Yeah, a lot of the time there is a misunderstanding and people don't get an invisible illness. But at the same time, there are other people who are incredibly generous and incredibly understanding. My husband and I have people over to our house all the time. It gets to a point where people are over enough that I can't tell myself when not to have a seizure or when to not to have a paralysis episode. So they have seen me walking around with my walker. These people have seen me have full-blown seizures in their presence. There was one time that I had a whole bunch of young ladies here and they, I went completely paralyzed, and it was the first time they had ever seen anything like that. And fortunately, one of them's a nurse. You know, she kind of just led with this very calm atmosphere and just like, all right, let's see what we can do for her and stuff, which was great. I mean, they all reacted exactly perfectly. But see, that's what I'm talking about, is there are people who totally don't get it, and honestly, they just won't get it. And there are other people who really do want to be educated. They've just never experienced anything like that before. Taking even just the things I've talked about, and I'm just hitting the tip of the iceberg, right? Taking all those things together, it's important to see the disabled hero as a real person, a full person with likes and dislikes, moments of just peevish attitude, and other moments of great generosity. We are exactly like normal people, we just have certain physical limitations and certain things that we have to keep track of in order to manage our conditions. So if you are a reader and you come across a really excellent representation of disability, I would love to hear about that story. And if you're a writer, take a look at the blog post below. And if you want to reach out to me, you are more than welcome to. I love talking and bringing awareness to this. And if you have a disability, please respond to this video and let me know how you would like to see your disability better represented in a fictional book